Welcome to Evolution in Controls. I'm your host, Tim Wilson. Thank you for joining us. Today's podcast is a special edition with a special guest. As you, our viewers, may know, Mueller is a motion engineering and distribution company that designs and supplies systems and products for both the industrial and the mobile marketplace. We are an engineering partner, a systems integrator, and a value-added distributor. While Mueller may deal with many companies as partners, there are only a few that are foundational to Mueller's core business. HYDAC is one of those businesses, and today we are speaking with one of the leaders of that company. HYDAC has had a phenomenal rise in industry. It is one of the foundational partners of Mueller Group and has been with Mueller since the very beginning. Today our guest is Matthias Mueller. He is president of HYDAC USA, a subsidiary of HYDAC International, with global sales of $2.5 billion, over 50 international subsidiaries, and 9,500 employees around the globe. And we will be talking today about HYDAC, their market rise and presence, and where they see the future headed. Herr Mueller, thank you for joining us. Why don't we start and talk about just a little bit about HYDAC, the products, the size, a little bit of the history of the company.
Tim, thank you, first of all, for hosting me today and Mueller for doing that. And it's a pleasure for me to have a little dialogue with you about HYDAC and the development that the company has taken over the last decades. So basically, HYDAC is this year celebrates its 60th anniversary in August. And the company was founded by Dr. Werner Dieter, one of the leaders and founders of the fluid power industry. And the company today is still owned and operated by the Dieter family. We are the largest privately held company in the fluid power space around the globe. And I'm responsible for the North American business, and HYDAC basically keeps growing by investing into new technologies that we will talk a little bit about, and also keeps growing mostly organically.
How long have you been with HYDAC?
I personally joined the company a little over 40 years ago. Basically right out of college, and I started in the R&D department for accumulators, and then later on in the early 90s I moved to the United States to basically start HYDAC here under the accumulator umbrella, I call it. Originally HYDAC stood for hydraulic accumulators, and it's also the symbol in the hydraulic schematic for an accumulator. Later it became hydraulic accessories as HYDAC added additional products such as accessories, filtration products, and then electronics. We were an early adapter of electronic products where many customers still were using gauges, and we already had pressure switches and pressure transducers. And later on we added mobile valves and cooling systems, and then latest more the electrification products.
With a 40-year history with the company has to look different today than it was 40 years ago when you first joined them. What do you see as some of the significant changes?
The significant changes are more the broader product range that we offer today. But initially we were focused on selling a component. Later we started more and more subsystems. And today we basically provide complete systems and take a system approach to become an early development partner for our customers. And in that collaboration process, we can really show the customers what value we can provide to them and to the end user. So that is always our focus.
So you went from a product focus to a solutions or a systems focus. Would you say that that's one of the critical success factors of HYDAC, the change in emphasis from products to solutions, systems?
Yes, we basically are we call ourselves an innovative provider of fluid power and electronic solutions. So our innovation typically has to do with how can we integrate things? How can we do things either for the same money with higher performance, or how can we provide cost reductions to a customer, but also integrating many of the HYDAC products.
Well, with that focus, you're talking about the underlying technology behind products and the technology in the markets that we serve. With that as the launching point, what technologies do you see that lies ahead, or what are you currently adapting and changing to encompass?
Yeah, Tim, if you look over the last 5 to 10 years in particular, electrification of mobile machines has taken a significant development curve, and HYDAC has adapted to that. So for example, 10 years ago, we may have had pressure transducers and maybe a temperature sensor. But today we offer many more sensors like inclination sensors, angle sensors, linear position sensors, but also the latest development is camera, which is another type of sensor. And together with our controls products and our displays, we're able to be a full liner to a customer that builds a mobile machine.
Well, you mentioned the electrification of at least the mobile market, and that's something that we've seen, but I'd like to understand, do you think electrification of the mobile market is going to replace hydraulics altogether?
No, I think there will be areas where electronics will replace hydraulic, but in general, in particular where high force and high pressures are needed, hydraulics will sustain. And I think in a combination, the efficiency will gain together. So, but in general, efficient hydraulics will be a key element no matter what. For example, if you can reduce delta P by efficient hydraulics, you will either extend the lifetime of a battery-operated vehicle, or you can maybe reduce the size of the battery. And you know, all of this is related to direct costs for an end user. So, but HYDAC also has invested in a battery company, in a DC motor company, electrical motors, and now also, as I explained earlier, have developed all these additional sensors. So we can really provide a customer for an electrified machine a complete solution.
So you're adding new companies, new technology to the portfolio of what you offer. Are those changes going to be sufficient to keep you at the forefront of the industry?
I think we still need to develop additional products. You know, for example, we need inverters for the motors, etc. We are on the forefront of BTMS, Battery Thermal Management System. So in the battery world, or the inverters, they need to be cooled, or the battery needs to be heated when it's cold outside conditions. So there is a lot of areas that we are developing. And the key element is always our software, which is called Match. And our controllers, because without the controls, you cannot really realize what is needed to make these machines more effective.
These new technologies, these new products, they require a different skill set. What impact is that going to have on HYDAC? Do you have to go to market differently? Do you have to have different requirements from your partners to take these products to market?
So Tim, that is a good question, and we have invested heavily in an e-mobility team. In America, we call that AST, Advanced System Team. That group is based out of our tech center in the Chicago area, and they handle e-mobility, but also the complete system solution. So we have added hydraulic engineers, we have added cooler engineers, but also controls engineers and a programmer, so that we can really look at a complete system solution for the customer and not just at a product focus.
So the new technology requires new capabilities from both HYDAC as well as your partners. Are your partners stepping up to the challenge?
Some partners do, like if I look at Morel always was on the forefront with us, an early adapter for most product lines, but also in this case, and Morel, I just toured your plant, you know, is heavily investing into the battery side of the business, which is glad to see. And we're really partners in this way, from us providing controllers and cooling products, and Morel also on the forefront of developing battery testing systems, etc. So it is absolutely needed, but because not all of our distribution partners do that, is where we are heavily invested ourselves in that as well.
Well, if we look at the future, looking down the road for HYDAC and your partners, what does the future look like 5 to 10 years out?
I think, Tim, this trend will continue on the electrification side. But also if we look at the hydrogen side today, you know, we're involved, let's say, with renewables such as solar power, hydropower, or wind turbine, which the buzzword is green hydrogen. And so the process to produce hydrogen is called electrolysis. And HYDAC is heavily involved from the control side and the cooling side, but also with sensors in that market. So we see a big trend in this field. So smaller machines might be with a battery operated like a municipality machine, but larger engines require probably a hydrogen solution. And machines in between could be operated by a fuel cell. So I am pretty confident that we need a multifaceted approach and not just a battery approach only, because it will not work for the whole industry.
So the concept of cooling that HYDAC has been involved with for a long time, you're taking that concept of cooling and applying it to the new technologies or the new products that come out and just changing the focus, but it's still cooling.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the cooling requirements in this new field of electromobility probably require 2 to 3 times as much cooling because you also have more efficient machines.
So that is a field, but also the control side and the sensor side will play a heavy role into this. And not to forget, even on the hydrogen side, where you have storage vessels, we have mounting solutions and sensors and other products with it. So HYDAC always looks at the complete field, not just at one particular area.
So if I see it, electrification of mobile and technological advancements, it's not replacing HYDAC products, it's opening new markets for you to expand into.
Yeah, absolutely. I think part of being an innovator requires that we come out with new products and new solutions for those industries, and that is what the ownership of HYDAC continues to invest in.
So one of the questions I like to close, and we're coming to a close of our time, one of the questions I like to ask is, what does the next 5 years or 10 years look like? What does HYDAC look like in 5 or 10 years from now?
I think, we are still reinventing ourselves in this newer area of e-mobility, so that will play a major role, continuing with additional products, and in particular with additional technical resources, like this e-mobility team I mentioned, but we also have a hydrogen team on the side. So we will develop additional technical resources and products.
Herr Mueller, Matthias, thank you so much for joining us today.
Tim, thank you very much to you and Morel for hosting me. Appreciate it.
To learn more about HYDAC, their products, solutions, and markets, visit HYDAC.com and HYDACUSA.com. To learn more about Morel and their systems and solutions, visit Morel-Group.com. Don't forget to subscribe to Evolution in Controls on whatever platform you use for podcasts or on YouTube for a video version so you can be updated when we release new episodes. Thank you again for joining us today. I'm Tim Wilson, and remember, keep moving.